disaster becomes very big, যখন national calamity বলে, then we use the national calamity fund from the national government. And all these details and all these things are written in that NDMS Act or the National Disaster Management Act. And this is actually, there have been lots of revisions, and I will say that we just published, it will publish actually this year, a book on disaster law, disaster legislation actually. এবং সেখানে আমরা 15টা না 16টা দেশের, mainly in Asia, but we also saw the FEMA, the American Federal Emergency Management Agency, and European Union, they have a disaster management act আছে। তো আমরা এই দুটো প্লাস মোস্টলি এশিয়া কিছু অ্যানালিসিস করছি, এবং we found that India's Disaster Management Act is possibly one of the best one, because it not only just covers the, as I mentioned earlier, not only just covers the natural hazards, but it also covers all different types of hazards. Biological hazard, there is a very specific provision of radiological or nuclear hazard, যেটা জাপানে হয়েছিল ফুকুশিমা, maybe some of you know that 2011 সালে যখন ওই ভূমিকম্প হয় এবং সুনামিতে ফুকুশিমার যে নিউক্লিয়ার প্ল্যান্ট that was actually was affected. But even in Japan, আমাদের মানে nuclear, when there is a nuclear disaster, it comes under a different ministry. When there was COVID-19, it comes under the health ministry. We have a separate Infectious Disease Control Act. Of course, we have a Disaster Management Act. Japan's Disaster Management Act was established in 1959 was the major cyclone, Japan typhoon bole. After that, the Basic Countermeasures Act was established, if I am not mistaken, around 1960s, early 1960s. And of course, there are revisions, but that is mostly focusing on the natural hazard. And that's the major distinction. এবং আপনারা জানেন যে NDRF, the National Disaster Response Force, NDRF after 2005, I think NDRF was established in 2007 or 8, and then gradually the number of battalions, like the NDRF battalions in different places, because India is too big, so you can't have from one centralized place to mobilize. So there are the regional battalions which actually makes the response force. But apart from the NDRF, many states have also SDRF, State Disaster Response Force. So usually যেটা আমরা মানে আগে বললাম যে disaster is a state subject. So mainly the SDRF they mobilize, and if the disaster becomes large or the states who don't have the SDRF, then the NDRF mobilize. আরেকটা ছোট গল্প বলি যে after NDRF was established, their first international operation, NDRF is mainly for India, right? The first international operation was in 2011 after Japan's tsunami. Unagawa বলে একটা ছোট শহর, সেখানে 42 জন NDRF এর টিম was deployed. এবং যখন তারা মানে the head of that particular team, so he was from Border Security Force, BSF. And again, somehow I came to know, and he now became a very good friend. His name is Alok Avasti. So he was the leader of that NDRF team. এবং he actually lead that 42 people in the rescue operation. But of course, it needs lots of, যখন international operation হয়, it needs lots of permission and this and that. So they went to the field. The disaster was on 11th of March, and they entered into the field on 16th or 17th, within 1 week. And so, of course, they could not rescue the living person, but they rescued many dead bodies. And this was extremely important. কারণ আপনারা যদি মানে those who have seen the tsunami video footage, So when earthquake is one thing, like earthquake when it shakes, it remains in the same place, right? The debris. So you know that okay, I just need to dig in this particular place. We know that whose house is this. Into tsunami-te, যেহেতু এটা wave, so all these houses, these are all floating. And then when the water recedes, so then all the houses actually become the relics of the debris. Then you don't know like whose house has gone where. Most of the time you cannot find. So many people were missing in this particular tsunami. And 2021 সালে তখন জাস্ট 2021 মানে জাস্ট প্যান্ডেমিকটা শেষ হচ্ছে আর কি 2021 লাস্টের দিকে I invited Alok Avasti, this NDRF team who actually lead this particular operation, and that time NDMA তে joint secretary ছিলেন সুজাতা সাইনিক বলে একজন মহিলা তো উনি she was coordinating it from NDMA. Now she is the chief secretary of Maharashtra. আমরা এই দুজনকে ইনভাইট করেছিলাম যে to see what is the current situation after 10 years. And I come, this is possibly one of my, and I mean, again, the India-Japan laboratory and the director and all this thing. Possibly that was one of the best thing I have done in this India-Japan lab. It is a very small entity. They were like so sort of passionate to see, when you go for a rescue operation, you just see only debris. But after 10 years, the whole city has changed. Like they have made the upliftment and there are new embankment, the new shops and everything. And he had a few, Alok had I still remember that we were moving around the places and he had a few landmarks and he was saying, yes, this is the place where we actually put the main, our main tent, and from there in the morning we used to have the meeting and then mobilize the team, and in the evening we come back and again do all these things. So only a few landmarks he could connect, but everything is changed. The best part was, in the evening we are having a dinner in a very small local restaurant. So তখন অলোক বলে যে আমি একটু টয়লেট থেকে আসছি there. So he was going to the toilet and somebody came, Japanese guy, and he just hugged him and Alok-san, in Japanese we call আমরা বলি san মানে যেমন এখানে জি বলে সেরকম আর কি Alok-san, and then he just hugged and started crying. And he started telling something in Japanese, and Alok was very surprised. And then I went and I said, what happened? And then that guy told that his father was a taxi driver. For almost 1 week to 10 days, they were trying to locate his father. I could not. NDRF actually rescued his father's body. And then they paid proper respect, and then they handed over it to the family. So for them, this person has never been to India. They only know India is equivalent to Indian curry rice. But for him, NDRF, and he remembered this, the leader's name, Alok, was like God. The person who, karon Japane, এই মারা যাবার পরে it's very important to the body rescue করে, the same thing here also. They rescue করে and then you make the proper sort of how do you call it, the proper rituals, the Buddhist rituals, then you prepare the proper homage and all these things. সেই জন্য জাপানের স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্সে কোবে আর্থকোয়েক সবসময় আমি দেখতাম যে 6,432 people died and 2 missing. For 28 years it continued. If you look at any official statistics in Japan, 6,432 plus 2. Why? Because those 2 people were not being identified. Body parts were not being identified. After 28 years, and I repeat, after 28 years, through some DNA testing, they could identify those 2 bodies, and now they know that who are those 2 bodies, and now the statistics has changed to 6,434. So that also actually tells us the story or the importance of the numbering, or because usually আমাদের এখানে মানে ইন্ডিয়াতে is not only in India মানে more South Asia তে পুরো he said around 100 people died. It's come on, every person's life is important, but we always love telling the round figure. How many people lost their life? Around 2,000, around 500. We try to make always the round figure, and that's possibly one of the major thing which we should possibly learn from Japan, is that how to make the detailed numbering and the statistical and the registration system. And the Japan's registration system is possibly one of the world's oldest family registration system. You can like track forefathers like everywhere, not only in the large cities, even in a small village, and that's a very, very uniform system. I think now with the Aadhaar card, like unique identification number, I think the India's statistics also becoming better, but still we say that Aadhaar card penetration and 98%, 97%. That's a number usually, more than 90% we say. But still those 10%
That's
or
a huge number.
5% is a huge number actually.
Gross number is huge.
And usually in the disaster, those are possibly the most vulnerable people. কারণ আমরা যেখানে ধরুন এখানে আছি, we all have Aadhaar card because we have a resident, we have a house and all these things. But many times, especially ধরুন এই যে heat wave, last year was a very bad heat wave, right? Lots of people who lives on the street, most of them maybe they don't have the Aadhaar card. Everywhere, in the major metros even, they lost their lives. And most of the time, we have this round figure, around 100 people lost their lives. Around 150 people lost their lives. I think that is also another, like whenever I hear about this round figure numbering, it really bothers me a lot. And possibly we need to, and with the new technologies, I think, now possibly we can do a major breakthrough of